Good Wednesday evening, everybody, and welcome to Direct Line Live. I am your host, Jackie Saxton, joined by my co-host, Mark Unkefer. And tonight we have candidate for Congressional District 6, Tom Royals. Tom, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Jackie. Hey, Mark, how are you?
Great. So tell us about the campaign trail. How's it treating you?
It's going great. I do want to mention one thing before we get started. I saw that intro was awesome. I noticed Air Force Thunderbirds, and as a good Navy guy that flew jets in the Navy, I'm not sure I noticed any F-18 Blue Angels. So maybe if you're taking feedback, maybe
actually, the thing that I was thinking as we were going through that is which of the pictures. I was trying to find a picture that was identifiably in District 6. And I'm not sure. It's possible that some of those Rockville ones, but it was a little questionable. What do you think?
Hey, that was fantastic. So I'm playing around, but I thought that was a really cool intro. You asked me about what the campaign trail, District 6 is going. It's going fantastic. So for those that might not know who I am, so I'm a candidate for the Maryland 6th. Grew up in Maryland, born and raised from a big family. I'm the fourth of 8 kids. After a little bit about my background, so I'm the fourth of 8 kids. Grew up in a big family. After 9/11, joined the Navy. I went to the U.S. Naval Academy. Graduated with the class of 2007. Went off to flight school down in Pensacola, Florida, and trained as a Naval Flight Officer flying the F-18 Super Hornet. I can talk all about the Navy stuff. Deployed overseas in 2011, flying combat missions into Afghanistan and Iraq. On the personal side, I'm married. I've been married for 16 years. We have 8 children. We're expecting number 9. No kidding. We're at that point any day now. So if I get a buzz, I'll let you know for a flair for the dramatic. So I think we're good for tonight, but that's also something going on in our life. But yeah, candidate for Congress of Maryland 6 is going fantastic. Been in the race since this summer was my first quarter in the race. Made it all over the district, all the counties, meeting folks, everywhere, and great reception, great support. Meeting the local leaders, meeting people in the party all across the district. So far so good, going great. I'm happy to share whatever you want.
Yeah. So what made you decide that you wanted to run for Congress? Because we always jokingly, not jokingly, you have to be a little bit crazy to run for office. So
yeah. So I love it. So it gets real personal real quick. So growing up, my parents taught us, blessed with mom and dad, big family I mentioned to start, that, a noble life, a good life lived would be to serve God, serve your country, serve your community, serve your family. And so for me, that took on the character. So after the terrorist attacks on 9/11, that took on the character of serving in uniform, serving in the military. So I was in high school when that happened. And so it's a long application process to get into the academy. I was a junior in high school, and basically I immediately started. And shortly thereafter, it's a long process. You have to apply to the school. You have to get a nomination from your representative to a nomination to be accepted. It takes a long time. I found out going into my senior year of high school that I was accepted, and so all senior year of high school I knew I was going to the academy. And then I started in the summer of 2003, 4 years of school. And then commissioned officer, ensign in the U.S. Navy, selected to go aviation. But one of the things we learned there was that we assumed the highest responsibilities of command, citizenship, and government. It's part of the mission statement of the U.S. Naval Academy. And that hit really, really close to home for me, because it's like, hey, serve God, serve country. This is a noble way for a person to live their life. And so don't wait around for someone else to do it. Country's under attack. Go serve the country in uniform. There's a need to serve the country. There's a need in government to go run. We need somebody to win this seat. We can get into the district and all the details of it. We need somebody to win. Don't wait around for someone else to do it. So go assume the responsibility. Take it yourself. Don't wait around for somebody else to do it. So it's truly service to the country. Shouldering of responsibility for me, myself, my family, my country.
So this is a very diverse district. It obviously stretches to Western Maryland. Well, in Montgomery County, it comes down and takes, I think, about a third of the district or so, maybe a quarter of the district is in Montgomery. So how do you navigate a district with so many different populations?
So you hit a big, long district, from one end of the air, Garrett, Allegheny, Washington County, Frederick County. So all of those counties, Panhandle of Maryland, all of Frederick County, and then northern western portion of Montgomery County, which is where I'm from. Grew up in Montgomery County. The first thing you do is you show up. You get around. You reach out and you go and you talk to people. You go to the GOP clubs. You go to the Central Committee meetings. You go to where people are. You go to the fairs. We've had every agricultural fair in every county, and so you show up, you talk to people. It's not just me. I've got a team. There's a whole bunch of volunteers. There's a whole bunch of interns. The other thing we do is we get the word out, door knocking. We've got dozens of folks coming in of that interning age that are doing door knocking. And so you just show up, you reach out, you say, here's the message. We can win. Have you heard? Take a look at my candidacy. So those are some of the ways you do it.
So it's been a pretty dramatic couple of months in Congress before, the events going on in the Middle East, which I'm sure we'll get to later.
Yeah.
Where, if you had been in Congress when all this was going down, where do you think you would have fallen in what was going on?
So first of all, I'm glad that it's behind us. That now let's get back to from the top of the whole issue. It's let's get back to acting like the majority. Let's get back to that's the only portion of the government that Republicans control is the House, and it's by the slimmest of margins. And so now that part is beyond us, let's get back to being the majority. Let's get back to keeping Democrats in check, keeping the Democrats in the Senate in check, keeping Joe Biden in the White House in check. And if things remain as they are now, that's what it's going to be going forward. So the way I think of things is, we haven't really talked about sort of the specifics of the district yet, but what I can do is I can focus on winning one seat that historically has been represented by a Republican going back decades. Now, we can talk about these sort of, gerrymandering history since 2010 of the Maryland 6th and how that became a Democrat seat, which is, in and of itself, a big thing. But what we can do is the way we prevent that from happening is we sort of increase our majority in the House. And that's what I'm focused on doing. So we can dive into any part of that you want to, but what I'm focused on is serving the people of the Maryland 6th, serving all Americans in Congress. I've served the country before, I'm prepared to serve the country again.
So talk about some of the foreign policy challenges. Obviously, you have a unique perspective, having served in the military.
Yeah.
What's your take on the current situation in Israel and Gaza?
Yeah, so I sort of talked a little bit about it when I was introducing myself. So maybe a little bit more there for context, I think. So I graduated from the Naval Academy, trained as a Naval Flight Officer, flying F-18 Super Hornets. So if you saw the Top Gun movie last year that came out, there's the fighter pilot in the front seat, and there's the weapon systems officer that sits in the back seat. So that was what my role was. One combat deployment in 2011 overseas on the George H.W. Bush. Its maiden voyage in 2011. So the timing of all that is sort of another sort of a lot was going on in the world. So just to sort of bring everyone back to what was going on in the world in 2011, early that spring, that's when the SEAL team, they make movies about it. They went in and they go get Osama bin Laden. Just weeks later, we were on deployment, and then we were flying combat missions into Afghanistan. So what that looks like is off of the aircraft carrier. You launch, flight of 2, flight of 4. You got, I could talk about cyclic ops on the aircraft carrier all day long, but basically you launch in country, fly over Pakistan, and then you get into Afghanistan. You hit a tanker. like the missions are, 9 hours long. You're in the jet for longer than that because there's a lot of stuff that happens when you're on the deck of the aircraft carrier before you ever get flying again. But what you're doing there is you're supporting American troops on the ground. You're supporting allied troops on the ground, and you have tasking. And so there's meaning like as the aviation assets overhead with all sorts of weapons on board, where your job is to keep Americans safe on the ground. And so basically, hey, we're going from point A to point B, and we need to make sure this route is clear of insurgents or of sort of any suspicious activity. IEDs was a big thing that was happening all the time. So that was a lot of what we did. And then all of a sudden, you'd get this radio call from air traffic control saying, hey, Lion 2-1, check in with Bandit at such a frequency because there's troops in contact somewhere else in the country. And then what you do is you check in with them, and usually somebody's in trouble, and you got to help them. You got to work it out with them. And we can talk about that if you want to, but that sort of as context for, my background. So, what's going on right now. I mean, we can dive into whichever issue you want to, but maybe I'll sort of pause there and sort of, if you want to steer it.
I mean, my next question was going to be, what is your number one issue? If you had to pick one, because there's a lot of good ones.
Yeah, well, so, I mean, the current events right now is sort of unwavering support for Israel, like absolutely unwavering support for Israel. And I think as Americans, as folks that are sort of in politics, any leader, right, should be able to condemn the terrorist attacks that we saw perpetrated against the Jewish people, like with absolute moral clarity, like just unequivocally, this is evil. This can't happen. Call it for what it is. It's an absolute terrible thing that happened. Men, women, children, innocent people that were attacked, slaughtered, and so much worse. And we need to be able to call that for what it is, evil. So unwavering, so as a country, unwavering support for the state of Israel. We need to allow and support Israel to act in its strategic interest. And so what that means is making sure that the Hamas terrorist threat can no longer target them. They can no longer be threatened by Hamas. So that's what we need to do. So like that's massive. And I want to say that sort of just loud and clear, unwavering support for Israel.
So with that, do you believe that we have a financial obligation to help Israel financially, or and to the same end, right, dealing with the Ukraine at the same time? So how do you feel about
them? Yeah, so they rely. So Israel relies on us to make sure their weapon systems are fully funded, fully stocked, all the supply material, all of that stuff. So the extent to which that's a financial obligation, absolutely, that's what support is. And so and we can do several things at one time. We can. So and we should, and we ought to continue doing that. So with Israel, yes, support them, let them act in their strategic interest, and be there to support them. And we don't want that thing escalating beyond what it already is. And so I think what we need is a strong America. We need to deter all the other potential actors in the region. And one of the ways that you do that is you show up in force. There's the aircraft carriers off the coast. I think that's a good thing. I can talk about, how an aircraft carrier and the air wing on board can certainly project power, can deter enemies, and can assure allies. There's an awful lot that an aircraft carrier can do. But above all, that is the support that we need to show for the state of Israel.
So you talked about some of the challenges in the area. What are your thoughts on the administration's current policy towards Iran?
So what we need, above all, is a strong America. A strong America is good for the American citizens. It's good for our allies. And what we have seen so far from the Biden White House is foreign policy failure after foreign policy failure, weakness from the Biden White House. So we can do a laundry list if you want to. What's going on with China and Taiwan? Remember the Chinese spy balloon that floated all the way across the country? What about Afghanistan? The disastrous withdrawal in Afghanistan and American troops that were killed with withdrawal. Terrible. The war in Ukraine. And more weakness from the Biden White House. What's going on in Israel right now? None of these things, like all of these, are parked at the doorstep of the Biden White House. And so what we need is strength from America, strength from the White House, strength from the U.S. military, strength from the American government, strength from the American people. When America is strong, the world is safer. And so what we need to do is project that. We haven't been. That's one of the things. So I am running to win the Maryland 6th congressional district so that I can keep the Democrats in the Senate in check, so that I can keep Joe Biden in the White House. If that remains the same through this next election cycle, we need the House to keep them in check so that we can have a strong America. So above all, an absolute strong America is what we need on the world scene. So considering every foreign policy issue.
So domestically, we're having our own issues with our border and keeping it safe. So what would be your approach to, border security?
Yeah, so we need a secure border. So we are a strong, powerful, wealthy country. We can do a lot of different things at the same time. And what we need is a strong border. We need to close it. We need to make sure that everyone should be against illegal immigration. Everyone should be against that. And what we need is to have legal immigration. And what we need, there's it's an open border right now. Like so many people are coming across. We're not sure who's coming across. I forget where the numbers. It's in the hundreds now of people on the terrorist watch list coming through the open border that have been apprehended. How many haven't been apprehended by the authorities on our southern border? So absolutely need to shore it up. We need to get control of it. This is a huge issue. What about lethal drugs coming through our southern border? That's affecting every community around the country, every community in Maryland, in the Maryland 6th. There are drugs. It's not just in the communities. It's also in our schools. The students are overdosing in public schools in the state of Maryland. Teachers are having to be taught how to administer the life-saving sort of support to provide to children when they overdose on fentanyl. It's an absolutely serious issue. We can do several different things at the same time, and we have to do several different things at the same time. But shoring up the border, making sure that we're strong, making sure that we have a robust immigration system in place. Everyone should be for legal immigration. Let's have a debate about what that means. But everyone should be against illegal immigration. And right now, what we have is an open border, and people are coming through, and we got to stop that.
So tell me about, as you go through the district, you're probably closer to the ground as you've met voters going door to door and at the meetings that you've talked about. What are the other issues that you're hearing from people people are concerned about?
The economy, the economy. Safety of our communities. We talked a little bit about that, with the border and drugs. That's a big one. Support for police. And then parents' rights is another big one. I'm a father of 8. I mentioned that, going on 9. No texts yet about any babies yet, so no sweat. We're still here. But those are some of the big ones. Well, let's hit economy. Are you happy to talk about the economy? So
yeah.
Not too long ago, I'm filling up. We got a bunch of kids. I got a big family vehicle, big van. It's awesome. It's the best thing. I'm a van dad, proud of it. And filling up the family vehicle at the gas station, when a young man comes around the gas pump, and he wants to talk. I can tell he's a little bashful, maybe a little embarrassed. Hey, what's going on? Everything okay? And he's like, I need some help. I need to fill up my tank. My wife, we just had a baby. She's in the hospital, and what I need to do is fill up my car. I need to get to the store to buy the crib. He showed me his dad band on his wrist for Shady Grove Hospital. It's a dad band that I've worn before. I'll be wearing again here shortly. And so I recognized it. I was like, look, okay, he's like, I got to go buy a crib for, so I can bring my baby home, and I got to film it. And he's like, and I can't do both. And so, I helped him, and, off he went. And the economy is huge. Gas prices, everyone's feeling the price of the pump. Groceries are up. The amount of milk that we buy at my local grocery store, we're keeping the lights on that place. We're putting everybody through college, with the amount of milk we buy at those places. But the economy, everyone's feeling it. So we need to fix that. We need to rein in spending. We need to, there's so much we need to do, but that's a huge one that everybody's feeling. And these are things that are, no matter where you are in the political spectrum, you're feeling it. On the energy stuff, right? So let's get back to producing in America at the levels that we're capable of producing, right? Whether you drive a traditional vehicle, a hybrid, a electric vehicle, whether you do that, producing energy in America at the levels that we're capable of is going to be good for everybody, whether you're wherever you are in the political spectrum, to the left, to the right, in the middle. That is good for everyone. And so, let's not rely on energy production from countries that don't like us. Let's get back to producing in this country at the levels that we're capable of. So I support that. That'll be a big one that'll provide relief to everyone, no matter where you are. So those are some of the areas we can talk about. Safety or parents' rights is another big one that spent some time. So wherever you want to go.
Let's talk about parents. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think we were going in opposite directions. So I'd say let's talk about safety. I don't know how closely you've been following our Maryland legislature as well, but one of the big bills that came across last session was a bill obviously put forth by the Democrats to severely restrict concealed carry in the state of Maryland, which, of course, is being fought and is severely unconstitutional according to the Second Amendment. But what can be done at the federal level, or what would you attempt to do at the federal level to protect Second Amendment rights?
So absolute ardent support of the Second Amendment. Absolute. My experience with firearms. So I sort of developed a deep respect for firearms with my service with the military. So I'm a qualified marksman in pistol and rifle. I did that in the Navy, and I used to carry a 9mm Beretta, on my flight gear when you would fly in country. So you'd get you'd be all kitted out to go strap into the jet, and you'd go, and the last thing you'd do at the duty desk, they give you a couple of things. They give you your 9mm Beretta, 2 magazines, and you get something called a blood chit. You people can look that up. CHIT. It sounds funny, but it's this thing that basically says, hey, if you're a downed airman, you can look them up. But you get issued one of those things. You get issued your sidearm. So deep respect for firearms. So I'm an ardent supporter. So anything that gets in the way of infringing on our constitutional right to carry is something that I'll be, I'm gonna push back against everybody that's trying to infringe on the right. So, ardent supporter.
So let me come back to the district, and you mentioned that you live in Montgomery County. What are your thoughts about how the different parts of campaigning in the different parts of the district, and are there differences? Are there similarities? How do you approach all those?
Yeah, so there's a lot of differences, a lot of similarities. I suppose our approach is do the groundwork, win every day. It's not just me. There's a team behind me. There's volunteers I mentioned. And the way we talk about it, when we have our team meetings and discussions and everything like that, look, we're not looking for anyone else to do the work for us. We're not looking to anybody to shake hands, knock on doors for us. It's we are prepared every single day to get our message out there in every community where Republican voters are, voters that vote in primaries, voters that vote in general elections, voters that maybe didn't vote last time, but we know exist. I think we underperformed voter registration in Montgomery County. We got to do better than that. That we can't just hand it over to Democrats to sort of take Montgomery County. Frederick County is huge. Frederick County is a major battleground for the general election. We're spending a lot of time there. We're spending a lot of time in every county. We're knocking on doors in every county. So it's do the work, knock on the doors, reach out and connect with people, introduce myself, have people, point people at things that we're doing, events, point them to where they can find out more information on our website. I don't know if I've mentioned the website yet, tomoilsforcongress.com. I think people listening or watching should check that out. I think I see it on the screen there. So way to go. People can find out more information there, find out more about the platform that we're running on, how to get involved. If you want to join a winning team, we're doing very well. We had a very, very strong first quarter. All of those things, on a fundraising level, had a very, very strong first quarter. And I think if people take a look at that, you can see some of the press releases that we've put out on the website. Take a look. I encourage people to really, really look at that as a way to differentiate some of the candidates you might be aware of in the field. And I think it says a lot because being able to raise money is a way to help get the message out there, because you gotta reach out to people. You gotta, campaigns cost money and you gotta do it. So volunteers, reaching out and touching people, introductions, pointing people where they can find out more information is all part of the game plan. We're just getting started. So folks that are interested in a winning operation, come and take a look.
So that's really what been one of the challenges in district, in addition to the redistricting that took place in 2010 for the 2012 election. You've had two very well-funded Democratic candidates who were able to self-fund, and that's put Republicans at a disadvantage. Do you think, we don't obviously know at this point who the Democratic opponent is going to be, although former Congressman Delaney's wife was running, so presumably she'll be well-funded. Do you think that you'll have the resources to be able to compete?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We'll have the resources. The last thing Maryland 6 needs is another Democrat to buy the seat. It happened with John Delaney, it happened with David Trone, and that's what they're trying to do. Handpick candidate with April, and basically they're looking to buy the seat again. And so I'm not having it. Our team's not having it. Our supporters aren't having it. So we'll have the resources that we need. We'll get out and raise the money that we need to get the message out there. But, bring it on. Bring it on. We very competitive on our campaign team. I'm a very competitive guy too. I grew up playing sports, been in the military, flew fighter jets. I mentioned that again. It's a pretty competitive enterprise is flying fighter jets. We feel very confident in our ability to run a good race and to turn a lot of heads.
So looking ahead to a potential general election, whether that's a matchup against April Delaney or anybody else on the Democrat field, what would be your appeal to Democrats and independent voters? Because this is a seat that you do need to switch some people over in order to win.
Yeah, I've served the country before. I'm prepared to serve the country again. When America's under attack, you send a fighter. I served the country after 9/11, take responsibility, serve in uniform when the country is in need. I volunteered to go do it. I'm prepared to do that again. The country is in need now. There's a different kind of attack that the country's under. The economy is under attack. Our schools are under attack. The safety of our communities are under attack. Parents' rights are under attack. So we need to send a fighter to go and win the day. We need somebody to go up there and do that for us. I don't think we've had that in the past. We haven't been able to win this seat since 2010. And we need that. And so that's why I'm here. That's why I'm running a race. That's the message that we're getting out there is we need somebody to go fight and win, someone that can raise the resources, that can bring volunteers in, that people to build a team that people want to be a part of. There's a lot of Republican and conservative voters in our state, in our district, that want to win this seat. Nobody's just sort of sitting idly by. So we're making the case that, look, here's an effort, here's a campaign to get behind. Let's go. So we're ready to go. So that's what I'd say.
You want me to go? You're going to go.
Go ahead.
I'm going to bring back one of my favorite questions that I used last cycle. I'm bringing it back because I do like this one. What current member of Congress do you feel like you most identify with in terms of what your style would be as a congressman? You could take a second because that's a thinker.
Yeah, no, I like Jen Kiggins a lot. Jen Kiggins is great. I had the privilege of being so she's Virginia 2, if I've got that right. The Virginia Beach district, I think that's Virginia 2. And what I admire about her, that was a tough district. They were very competitive. She had to unseat an incumbent. And she also has a Navy background. She was a helicopter pilot. She's done an awful lot with her life. It's like, what are we doing with our lives, right? This woman's amazing. But I've had the pleasure of meeting her. I really like what she brings to the table. She wants service to the country, and that it's a competitive district I think is pretty critical because you have to run a principled race. You have to run a disciplined race with a conservative message, but also one that's appealing to folks that maybe don't want to go so far to the left if they're independent or if they're Democrats or something like that, because the left just keeps going farther and farther. The Democrat side keeps going farther and farther left. There's about I don't know, are we in the dozens now of candidates on the Democrat side for the Maryland 6? So that the rhetoric and the messaging is just going to keep getting pushed farther and farther to the left, which is leaving all these Americans, all these Marylanders, sort of in the middle, that might be, we want somebody who's just a sane, credible, reasonable candidate that wants the country to start working better again. And so I think that's a good example. Jen Kiggins is able to do that. So she's awesome. I admire what she's been able to do. And so I think there's some similarities with the Maryland 6th, is that there's a competitive district, and there's a lot of folks there that aren't interested in how far the left, the other side's going. And there's a lot of independents that are interested in getting the country working better again. Hey, wouldn't it be better if the price of gas was more affordable and your groceries were better and inflation was down? We didn't even touch inflation yet. My goodness, how high inflation is. And wouldn't it be better? And so let's approach that. Let's do that together.
We talked earlier about the fact that the majority of the Republicans have is just a handful of seats, and many of them will be up for grabs. People are retiring in changes. There are a number of seats that in districts that Biden carried. It's a very competitive environment. Have you attracted national interest, since this could well be one of those seats that of those handful of seats that ends up deciding the control?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So every seat is so important, which is why we're so focused on winning this one seat. It's a flip, right? So for people that are, that might be listening, it's currently held by a Democrat, and we can flip this one back and add it to the Republican side. So totally with you. There are several districts around the country where it's going to be a real tough fight, and so every seat matters. It's attracting national interest. We're in touch with folks on the national level down at the NRCC. They're aware of our race. They like what we're doing, but again, I think I mentioned it earlier. What we're focused on is winning every single day. We're not looking for anybody to do any work for us. We're prepared to build a team, get the message out there, raise the resources that we need to run this race, get the message out there, reach out and say hello, introduce ourselves to voters, and introduce us to what we're trying to do. And so far so good. We don't just want to win. We don't just want to have one good quarter or two good quarters, or even just win a nomination. We don't just want to win just a general election. We want to keep this seat for as long as we can keep it, race after race after race. So we're building a campaign machine that can restore the Maryland 6th back for the Republicans and keep it for as long as we can.
So let's go a little bit into inflation, because you mentioned it. Biden's not even calling it the Inflation Reduction Act anymore, because it has done the complete opposite of that. So what would be your strategy for bringing down the inflation and getting things more affordable?
Whenever the government spends more money, we all have less money. So, whenever inflation goes up, that is a tax on all of us. Every single dollar that we have is now worth less. So whenever the government continues to spend, takes out more debt, the deficit increases. Whenever all of that happens, we all have less money. So what we need to do is rein in spending. We need to cut government spending. We need to reduce the size of government. For starters, how about across the board? I'm for any sort of reasoned, principled way of cutting spending, reducing spending, all of those things, because it's all of us that are paying for it. It's, for those that don't pay attention to it much, it's like, why is my gas so much more expensive? Why are my groceries so much more expensive? It's because your dollars are worth less. And because inflation has been so high for so long. It's not just and it accumulates, over each quarter, each month, each year. So it's a serious problem that we need to solve. Inflation is one of the key issues that are driving the state of the economy right now. Everyone is feeling it. So that's where I'm at. We got to get on top of that.
So we talked a little bit about energy independence. What about fracking in Western Maryland?
Look, I'm for getting us back to producing in this country at the levels that we need to. So wherever that's appropriate, I think we should. Wherever, I think any sort of operation needs to engage with the population, needs to engage with the government at every level where it's going to be involved, and there needs to be a detailed integration at every single level where it's appropriate. So, but I'll say it again. I am for getting back to producing energy in this country at the levels that we are capable of to prevent, so that we don't have to, get our energy from countries overseas that don't have our best interest in mind. So, where that happens to sort of is it in Maryland? Is it in a particular county, or other states around the country? Wherever it's appropriate, let's have the discussion. But it's better to be having that discussion about where and how much and to what extent we should be, producing energy in this country. Let's have that discussion, but let's not have it about, relying on overseas suppliers.
I got all my questions in before we go to plug. So what else you got, Mark?
Well, we haven't talked about China, another foreign policy challenge. What are your thoughts about how
mistake? China is our sort of the preeminent rival on the world stage, and so what we need is I said it a little bit earlier. We need a strong America. We need a strong U.S. military. We need a strong foreign policy. We haven't had it with the Biden administration. We mentioned the spy balloon. We mentioned the escalation with Taiwan. So what we need is a very strong U.S. military. We need a strong foreign policy. We need a strong America. We need things that weaken America. A lot of the things we've already talked about: a poor economy, political, a contentious political environment. It's let's be a strong America so that we can then address the issues that we need. Overseas. So with China, they are our preeminent rival on the world stage, and what we need to do is be the world power that America is. So it's a serious threat, and what we need to get back on it, and the Biden administration hasn't been there.
You good, Mark?
Sure.
Is there any? Before we go into plugs, is there any other topic we didn't cover that you definitely want to make sure you spoke about?
Let's see. I think we covered an awful lot of stuff. I'm proud, happy, and eager, and very willing to run this race to be a candidate for the Maryland 6th. It's serving the country. It's shouldering the responsibility. The world would be a better place, right? Our country is better if we all sort of take on the responsibility at every level, right? Being a good person, being a good family member, being a good neighbor, right? Being a good member of your community, et cetera, right? So I think, so I'm running to serve the country. I'm running to fight for our country. I've done that before. I'm prepared to do it again. Take a look at what we're doing. We'd love to have you on board. Join, folks that are listening, that are watching this, that want to join the team, TomRoyalsForCongress.com. Take a look. We'd love to have you. You can sign up. You can put your email in there. You can reach out and sort of get a hold of us and our team. We'd love to have you. We got a Germantown office that we'd love to have you. I think it's in the works. So sort of a little bit of a teaser. We're going to have a sort of an office grand opening here coming up, but stay tuned. Details to follow. Get on our mailing list by joining TomRoyalsForCongress.com. So, that would be it. So take a look. We're in this thing to win it. So
awesome. And from our end, our plug is tomorrow. We will have our first Thursday Pizza and Politics at our usual spot, Mama Lucia and Olney. This month, we will be supporting Israel. So all of the proceeds from tomorrow night will be going to the Zionist Organization of America. We have several speakers, including Matthew Foldy and Bonnie Glick, coming to talk about what's going on the ground and the media's coverage of it, and it should be a really impactful event. So we hope that you'll come out and join us. And then putting on my Young Republican hat really quickly, the Young Republicans today launched our Christmas Gala tickets. So you can buy those on mdyrs.com or through our Facebook page. We have very limited number of seats. It's going to be a beautiful, beautiful event in Harford County. So hopefully you can come out and join us for that as well. All right, guys. Thank you for joining me. Mark, thank you as always for co-hosting. Tom, thank you so much for joining us. Best of luck on your campaign. And all of you, we will be back next week with another great guest.
Thanks, Jackie. This was great. Appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.